All right, now let's look at the impact this will have on the victims. Helping us to unpack this is a clinical psychologist, Dr. Keitumetse Mashego. Dr. Mashego, a very good afternoon to you. Firstly, let's get your reaction on this rather disturbing incident. I mean, what could be going through those young men's minds at the moment, seeing their videos firstly being displayed all over social media, but fundamentally, what happened to them at that club?
Good afternoon to everyone. You know, it's quite sad and shocking to see what has happened. And you can imagine the victims or the people who were put, on display, as you rightly put it, for what the incident that occurred. I mean, they experienced a lot of trauma. And that puts them at risk for even more severe pathologies such as anxiety, your self-medication, post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. And if they don't process this or are assisted to process what has happened and actually it's going viral, they are likely to, go out there and hurt others or hurt themselves or even just not function, because as that saying goes, hurt people hurt other people, even if they were unfairly hurt, which is the sad reality about trauma, is that the onus is on the victims to actually seek the help for the trauma that they have experienced, which is not always the case. So you can imagine, them seeing this, and it was already embarrassing enough or shameful enough, or they were already traumatized, because the incident has happened. But now this is, secondary trauma in that now the news is out there for everyone to see.
And I mean, in a country like ours that's already battling with GBV and sexual harassment, we're now hearing that the man who actually posted these initial videos has over 70 other videos. That means more victims could be out there, and also this could possibly also be causing some form of stress for them watching this. I mean, how concerning is it, firstly, that these establishments resort to such extreme acts of violence?
It shows, it reflects, how wounded we are as society, but also how desensitized we are. It sounds like, from every incident that's reported, it really seems like human life, human interaction has lost its value. It's almost like, we are living as if, we don't have a conscience, which is quite scary. Because, you can imagine the upcoming generations, they're going to have so much anxiety because this is the world, this is their reality now that they have to deal with. And you can also just imagine the families, the support structures. I think this is truly a reflection of how broken we are. There's really deep-rooted trauma in terms of society at large, and really we're in a crisis state because, as you're rightly saying, GBV is at concerning levels, and now these traumas that are happening behind closed doors, it's really, there is no words to actually emphasize, the crisis state we are in, but there is a need, honestly, for us to really sit and start doing the work to ensure that, we create a better space in terms of our society.
So obviously the management of this particular club, Zanzou, is denying and distancing itself, at least from these allegations. But when you look at just some of the statements that have already been made that are out there in terms of the powerful circle operating within these clubs, not only in Pretoria, but also in Johannesburg, when we speak about the greater Gauteng and the possible involvement of the SABC members within this club, obviously presuming that, that there is a powerful gang of men behind some of these victimizations, some of these acts of violence that we are seeing. What is the burden then on the victim, especially when they have to report and come out, just knowing that there are these powerful people behind these crimes?
It becomes so daunting for victims to actually report such incidences because of, the nature in itself of the abuse is always so traumatic. But secondary to that is the fact that the underworld or, these powerful people are being exposed, and, they almost feel like they should not speak about it. But in the end, if it comes out this way, it's almost like they are forced to speak about it, what has happened, or to choose whether to speak about it or to not for the safety of their lives, which is quite scary. So they would be always, in a state of anxiety because of what can happen to them, or the fear that anything can happen to them, but also what they have experienced. Because in as much as, this thing happened a while back, what happens to us if we don't process this, it sits with us, and we see it in how people behave, how they act, and how they react, that they're not okay. So you might find that, they haven't been okay for a while in terms of how they are functioning, because there could be substance abuse, there could be, a lot of pathology that they are carrying because of the incidences. And now this is further exacerbated by the reality of the people behind who are not going to come out and be honest about the incidences, but also the reality that the whole country or the whole world now knows what has happened to them. So it is really concerning for, what will happen to the victims. And sadly, as I've indicated, the onus is on them to seek that psychological help so that they can process what has happened and somehow, still manage to carry on in spite of what has happened. Because, such incidences, especially if they are young, even the older, it can put them at risk for, severe pathology such as suicidal attempts, etc.
Absolutely. Dr. Mashego, thank you so much for your time. Dr. Keitumetse Mashego, the clinical psychologist.